the CV is vast. I welcome you today, ma'am, for the program. So we will start that panel discussion. So I would like to start with the first question that would most of us strike us whenever we are in crisis. So there's one thing that comes to our mind about how what are the various factors that usually contribute to the resilience. So if Mr. Badrinath sir would like to throw light on some of those life examples that could be really, really helpful for the audience. So over to
Thank you,
Badrinath.
Dr. Pooja. Now, I'm sure everyone have got their own roller coaster ride in life. Now, it could be personal, it could be professional. There's something which we can't miss. Now, these things bear on us, be it in terms of as an individual or be it as an organization team member. Now, when it comes to looking at what kind of stress we are looking at, where we need to really bounce back, so I could broadly say that one, on an individual level, we have it basically an emotional one. The other one is a financial or anything which is materialistic. Now, looking at it, what is the kind of person who would be a one who can actually have good resilience to really bounce back? Now, I'm just trying to give you a few features of what he's capable of. Now, I'm giving example of which are all the places where we are going to have a resilience show off, or instances where resilience is demonstrated. Could be I have a death in my family, I lose my job, I've got time management issues, I've got relationship issues, I have issues of not able to deliver my expectation. That's something which is self designed. So all these things are few things which really put us on stress, and that's where we need to really bounce back. Now, a personality who can actually demonstrate a good resilience is the one. He is good at problem solving skills. Now, again, we being a student of psychology and philosophy of psychology, we always ask the question, how do you see a problem? And what I've seen in life is it's all about the way you perceive it. Now, even if who was there looking for solution or giving solution, is all about changing its perception and making it different. So have we actually inculcate this behavior in a person? So the moment you have a person who can actually look at things in different dimension, he is demonstrated the first level. Second, how is the social connections? How is he connected? How is he networked? Because most often not, these are the people who actually support you emotionally, and that is very, very important. And thirdly, he needs to have a mentality which says, I'm going to survive, I'm going to fight it. Unless until the person individually is not capable of doing it, resilience can't be demonstrated. Thirdly, he needs to have regulation of his emotions. Now, this is where we talk about empathy, we talk about how an individual person can develop and get this emotion regulated. Lastly, self compassion. Now, if I don't love myself, if I don't accept myself, if I'm not comfortable with myself, trust me, I'm always stressed. Now, these are the few parameters which I would say would demonstrate a resilient person. Now, coming up, what is that action plan one needs to take? What is the kind of action he needs to do? One, try taking a positive perception in any situation. Whenever you look at a situation, try to look at the positive side. Two, view challenges as learning opportunity, because challenges is basically an option of you pulling up your skill, competency, or attitude, whatever it could be. It's an opportunity for you. See, look at that as an opportunity. And of course, regulate your emotion, be expressive, because most often not, what we have realized, what we have seen around is we are very, very bad at expressing. Our communication is bad because we are not able to express our feelings. Try to be assertive. Of course, focus on things that you can control, like the seven things of living a good life or successful people. He says it's all about center of control, center of concern. It's not, you can't go beyond that. Look at what you can control. Don't worry on the concern area, and recognize that cognitive distortions are false. Because today what is happening, we are getting impacted with a lot of messages, be it visual, be it verbal, be it our surroundings. A lot of things are happening, especially we are getting addicted to a lot of gadgets today. So information is overload and we're getting carried away. Now here, can you actually kind of filter, see, look at what the information is? And lastly, never have negative thought, replace positive. These are the few action plans I would advise people, I would recommend people, which actually makes them more resilient. I hope that answered your question, Dr. Pooja.
A wonderful explanation. It is like encompassing all these components. that usually we look for. And the ability to cope with the stress is something that most of us would desire for. Whenever we are, facing any kind of crisis in life, we need to go on persistently. So which you know rightly handled, which you rightly put up the points like self-awareness, positive outlook, even the emotional regulation, all this is will help us or facilitate in that journey very, very in a very smooth way. Now over to Miss Divya, that I would like to ask the question. When we talk about the stress, in our daily life, which is indispensable, most of us know, can you explain the what concepts of what the stress or the adaptation that we say mean in the context with resilience, specifically when we deal with the youth? So how that is like a kind of a relation that we can establish?
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Pooja, for asking this wonderful question, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful platform. Coming down to your question, Dr. Pooja. So let me break it in, three half. First of all, explaining the relationship between stress and adaptation. Stress and adaptation are actually interconnected concepts. So if you are into stress, somewhere down the line you would try to adapt. Okay, so especially in youth when they are not able to effectively develop any kind of resilience, they try and adapt to a situation. Henceforth, stress and adaptation are very, very much interconnected concept. Now, coming down to resilience. Now, resilience, like you have beautifully explained, is an ability for an individual to bounce back from an uncertainty, from a situation where they felt they are at their worst, but still, when they are able to bounce back and again come back, they are resilient. Now, explaining stress over here, I'll be using an example also. Now, stress is a body's physiological and psychological response demanding to a challenging situation. So, if you are into a very challenging situation, it's very, very normal for an individual to have stress in their life. Now, using an example over here, an, a teenager is going through a breakup with a very close friend. Okay, this individual will definitely develop stress. This little teenager would think of situations if he or she is gonna be alone, if he or she is gonna be, not having friends anymore, they are gonna have stress in their life. And slowly they come down to adaptation. Now, what exactly we mean to adapt? When there is so much of thought process going on, slowly and gradually they try and adjust and respond to that situation. They try effective coping mechanism to actually adapt to that situation and respond back. Now, when we are talking about adaptation, in the similar example, let me see how this individual can actually adapt to stress. So, when this teenager boy is actually going through this kind of breakup, slowly and gradually, this teenager will start seeking help. Maybe this person would start speaking to an adult, would actually reach out to a counselor, which will start engaging into new activities. As soon as this teenager boy is starting to engage in this new activity, he is trying to adapt to new situation. Henceforth, they are trying to actually develop resilience in them. So resilience then emerges as a youth to learn to effectively adapt to stressors in their life. It is not about avoiding actually the stress, but about building skills and manage and bounce back from that situation which made them vulnerable. So that is what I hope I answered your question appropriately. Yeah.
Yes, I think absolutely. Most of us, the youths, they would like to know whenever this kind of a relationship breakup happen, how to get over with or how to overcome the stress that they experience, enormously, and that affect their functioning as well. So you have pointed out really, really well that engaging in new activity as well as the reaching out to the professional becomes really, really important. That's why we need to encourage them as mental health professionals, how much it is important to help them out in this situation. Even our support system that we have in our family and even our adults all around us, teachers. So how can they be a supporting source in this endeavor? So thanks for enlightening us, and of course the youth would benefit from it. Yeah. So I would now move on to our third panelist, Dr. Shobha. Hope you're able to listen to here to us. Now, requesting you to please highlight upon these, what we are hearing, and especially in an Indian setting, the complementary therapies or the alternative therapies that have become a very much, part of our culture. So, how much essentially it needs to be, known to our people, to the people around. How can they make use of these kind of therapies? So please enlighten us or the audience related to it. The question that is there for you that most of us would like to know about the enhancement part. How does this resilience enhanced in an organization setup? As most of us are employees in a company, so we are all being associated with an organization. So how do we enhance? Because this experience of yours would really, really help us towards enhancing our this component, which may or may not be there. But through your tips, I think it will be really helpful, beneficial for all of us.
Yes, ma'am. So I simply say design is always the problem. So you are designed to either fail or you're designed either to success. Now, in the last few decades, we have been hearing the word called VUCA. That is VUCA, which is volatile and uncertain and complex and ambiguous. Now, every organization today is going through this VUCA situation. That's where we have stress. That's where we are looking at people to be resilient so that they can come out of these kind of situations. Now, recently in the 2022, McKinsey talked about coming up with the report asking this question: what is the kind of resilience structure we need to have in an organization? Now, when they went on the survey, they came out to find the facts of which is actually being very, very crucial for any organization. So they came out with this fact which says, one, geopolitical tension is one of the major features which is actually creating this kind of situation where resilience is demanded. Second thing is inflation, which is what we are seeing because of all these repercussions. And lastly, a gloomy economy. Now we have gone through the COVID, and we were lucky, or we are lucky that we are in India, so we did not really go through that big bad phase. And if you look at other countries, they have their own challenges, and they are not still looking at a bright future. Today we are looking at stating that we're going to be a third economy across the world. That kind of a belief is not there with other people today. Now this kind of situation is what is creating a lot of stress, and resilience is important. What is happening? What are the leaders doing? How is the organization actually managing this? One, they're starting with focusing on workplace safety. That's the first thing they're saying, so that you are able to get a emotional support to the employees, and also look at a environment which is safe. Second, they are talking about today's scenario where I can give you option of working remotely. That's an option. Like Divya ma'am was talking about work balance. So this is what it is all about. And of course, another areas which we are looking at where we can actually adapt, or rather address these issues of stress, could be digital, technology, finance, and operations. Now, how do I do this? These are major elements which are going to throw my situation under like unplanned VUCA situations. Now, how can I do it? One, I need to be agile. That's the first thing which we are talking about. Being agile will actually make me handle these things effectively. Now, they also say that unless you don't have a leader who is not resilient, you can't have an organization which is resilient. Now, what does a leader do? He comes with a model, business model, which is very, very agile, which can actually take care of all these elements. Now, he needs to create a reputation, because today we look at many industries, many companies not able to enter some areas because they have a tag on them, they have a reputation on them. So, how you as a leader are creating an image, creating a brand for your organization, so that you are able to explore new markets. Today, India has got a different image. So now it's able to talk about a economy which is number three. Earlier we did not have it because we had a tag of different nature. So what is the kind of reputation you built is very, very important. Of course, what are your operations? How do you manage your operations? How is this actually agile so that you're able to look at situation, adapt them? And lastly, your technology and finance seems to be a very important thing in our organization structuring. So I think, taken these factors, organization can actually talk about a good, resilient um, demonstration. Success is guaranteed. Doctor, have I answered
Okay.
that?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of points you've not left any stone unturned in terms of the organizational culture, design, and we say the work balance, which is very crucial component as we will talk about the resilience part or how they adapt to the technology, even that the managing the operations. So most of the pointers, most of the organization, I think they should be knowing about this fact, how that this kind of resilience adaptation is an important component, and how can they prepare themselves for the challenges in a global way. So all this is, I think, going to contribute a lot. Thank you for that. So I would like to now move on to Dr. Shobha, yeah, who has joined us again, who has rejoined us. So I would like to request you. Yeah, I think she has she has got a bad network. No problem. So we'll move again to Divya, ma'am. Right. So, how to cope with the, mostly the life challenges in the young age, or we say the rejections that happen in life. So, how is that coping is possible with that, especially when we say the young age is something which is very much vulnerable. So, would you suggest any of the
Yeah,
strategies?
yeah.
So, yeah, Shobha ma'am,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
come back to you.
Thanks a
I'll
lot,
come
ma'am,
back to you.
to giving an
Sorry.
opportunity.
So I'll proceed. Thank you, Dr. Pooja, for the question. Now, when we are talking about coping up with life challenges at young age and also dealing with rejection, the very first thing over here is very important for us to acknowledge that this is going to be tough. Facing any kind of rejection, facing any kind of a situation which is challenging, it's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be cakewalk. So the very first thing for the scoping mechanism should be acknowledging your feelings. So sometimes I have seen that individuals are not aware what exactly they are feeling. If you're feeling sad, it's okay to feel sad. If you're feeling bad, it's okay to feel bad. These are your emotions. Somehow we try to run away from these emotions, saying that these are negative emotions, but these are just bundle of emotions for you to have in you, in your nature. So very, very important for any individual to acknowledge what they are feeling. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling low, that's okay. That's okay for us to feel that. And now uh, I'll use my personal example over here. So, if any situation has happened to me, I'll take my time to digest. Even if it requires for me to sit down and cry for a day, it's okay for me to do that. But from the very next day, cry about it, I would be a solution focused person rather than problem focused person. Second thing should be seek support. When you have already acknowledged your feelings, you start seeking support. It could be from your family, it could be from your friends, it could be from a counselor, anyone which you think can help you out in that situation. Go ahead, do that. Third thing, in this whole situation, you definitely need to practice self-care. You should be aware of activities that is promoting and engaging you with physical, emotional, and your mental well-being. Fourth, it's very, very important for you to develop resilience. Embrace challenges as your opportunities, learn from that. Even if you are at your down, it's okay, but how can you come back again? How can you actually recover from that situation? That is very, very important. Come back. And with that, there is also very, very important thing which you have mentioned about rejection. You need to learn from rejection rather than thinking rejection as your failures of your life or something which you cannot come up from. It's very, very important to take rejections as your life learning lessons. Once you take it this lightly, you'll be able to overcome. And one thing which I do the best is I try and read about stories of people who have had faced rejections. So that will make you feel that okay, if this person can feel can go through so many rejection and still be at such good level, then why can't I? Apart from that, you can set realistic goals. A lot of time you feel rejected because you have set unrealistic goals for yourself. One very useful example which I use in my training programs is from the very first day you cannot aim for jogging 1 kilometer, right? You start sorry, you cannot aim for 10 kilometers. You start slow. Let me do 500 meters today. Let me do 1 kilometer, and slowly and gradually you reach to 10 kilometers. Apart from that, practice positive self talk. be solution focused person, and very, very important is to be patient and be hopeful. So I think that is from my end. I hope I answered your question here.
Yes, I mean that's summarized really beautifully, because all these pointers are should be known to each and every one of us in terms of the acceptance, which we say the essential ingredient, to help us cope or to move, beyond that the life adversities, and even practicing self care, as you pointed out, the even gratitude, a number of ways we can also learning through the stories, which will become a motivating, which will go on a long way to actually imbibe in our life as well, or to absorb those ideas which are being there for us, or the messages that if the other person can do, why can't I? So this kind of motivation, encouragement, or support that we needed from other people around, so it's always going to work in a very hopeful way or positive way, as we say, and they will of course learn to handle their emotions in a more accepting way, and that's how we say this kind of the challenges will not look that much big to us, and it'll be easy to cross that river. Yes. Yes. So I
Yes,
welcome,
yes.
yeah, thank you. I welcome Dr. Shobha, who is there with us now. So I would now again move on to you with that, asking the question that I was asking before. Please highlight upon the various, the complementary therapies, especially because you are being specialized in that field. I've been working in a hospital setting. So if you're also some kind of pointers, if you can give or provide that kind of an insight, how much this complementary alternative therapies are being useful for the stress or any kind of crisis.
Yes, thanks a lot, ma'am, to giving me an opportunity to ask this question. It is a very important that we should understand and aware about the others complementary therapies, because everyone is not expert in a counseling or something like other therapies. So first we can use massage therapy that has been used to reduce stress and even giving a positive effect for relaxation. It is a research-based therapy, and other integrative and medicine and alternative medicine play a very significant role to management of stress, like homeopathy and acupressure, naturopathy also are used to management of stress. Sometimes we use for medication, transgender and anxiety and stress reduction medication also to management the stress. And sometimes Chinese therapy like Tai Chi and drinking green tea also are all alternative therapies for stress reduction. There are some combo of a mind-body therapies that reduce and help to reduce stress at a hospital setup and official setup, because sometimes we burn out and have to take the stress, like yoga, meditation, uh, and hypnosis, biofeedback therapy, so that we can reduce our relaxation of muscles. And majorly we can incorporate creativity outlets also, just like music, to listen music and play therapy, to watch motivational movies, so that they can give you a motivation to how to cope up and accept the things for a stress management. Now current trends, I have seen last in a 2020 study, they have a significant role of Reiki, CBT, REBT. तो just I continue since 19th century, but they incorporate like a Reiki and hypnotherapy, also used for helpful for a stress reduction. Sometimes biological based things are also help for uh, uh, to manage the stress. I hope my answer is satisfied for your
Yes, yes.
question.
Thank you for that. Because these utility, as we say, of these therapies is paramount, and you've already, brought us a list of these therapies, which could be utilized in a very appropriate way. Because under a supervision, it always becomes, like very useful. And these mindful-based therapies, they're also being part of our the culture. That is, we say the Buddhism. The origin is from the that culture, we say, and it's there in our Indian system, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be very useful. Yeah.
Even in my Even in my PhD thesis, the research topic was effect of mystic rose meditation therapy, that meditation given by a Osho. So that is a very, very wonderful therapy also, and that is evidence based. So that we can apply for that also, because everybody is not expert in a CBT, REBT, and
Right,
uh,
absolutely. We would also we are very much interested to know from you about the role of the dietary. How much that role of diet is important in managing the stress. Because just now we understood the alternative therapies, but the diet also goes hand in hand, just to bring that balance in the mind and body. So if you can please throw light on those diets, what are being considered as important in managing the various kind of stressors that are being experienced by most of us.
Exactly, ma'am. Ma'am, diet is a has a very, very important role in a stress management. Sometimes we took a junk food and outside food that is reduce and giving a excitement and even a physicality in our behavior. We should always follow a balanced diet, included nutrition, vitamins, and milk, and avoid the outside foods. That is also very, very important. And we should always make a healthy diet. We should always follow the healthy diet. And currently there are so many evidence based diet like a GFCF, gluten free, gluten free diet, and ketogenic diet also play a important role to reduce the stress. So we can take advice from dietitian if the stress is beyond the limit. Otherwise, though, in a daily routine life, we can follow a balanced diet and don't eat too much junk food and sweet also.
Yes. So thank you for that, because we need to learn these techniques or the dietary modifications that are very much needed in order to reach out to that holistic, we say, the development or the essential part of managing the mind and body in a balanced way. So you've given us the tips. So that is going to be very, very helpful. Now, I would like to go to Badrinath sir, for this question on the why we consider the resilience, important for the leadership role, because most of that us being a leader in some way or the other in our teams. So how do we give that tips or some kind of a suggestions for the leaders to maintain that resilience, or how much we can show that importance to them?
I like to I like to have this quote of Bruce Lee, who says, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." So now somewhere we have to believe that resilience, someone who's a bodybuilder, who's got a lot of mass muscle, who can actually go through a stress and be calm. So it's not that easy. It could be one way of looking at it, but end of the day, what exactly is a characteristics or a leadership need to have is one. He needs to talk about having a high degree of engagement and participation in an organization. Now, I've experienced myself in an organization of the last 3 decades, where it's always difficult to connect with your top bosses. They are exclusive. They can't be met. Now, even if they meet, they are looking at your question and weighing whether is it important, is it worth my time, do I need to share with you?
Right.
This kind of apprehension is created in the people, so that they don't really approach. Now, a leader needs to have this engagement in a higher degree, so that he comes down. That's when he can actually get the pulse of what's happening in the organization, and that's when he can actually look at a change happening. The next thing is, how does he approach work? How adaptive is it with the situation? Because unless he is not mentally adaptive, he is not able to take decisions. That's when these challenges come in. So I'm looking at a person, not at all someone who is just able to go through a roller coaster ride. At the same time, he's got a high degree of participation, engagement, and an adaptive mindset. And apart from that, he needs to be a good navigator. He needs to talk about how can I navigate situations. Now look at us, what happened. I've got situations during the COVID where many companies, both ways. One, immediately when COVID happened, they had to shut shops for some time. Many companies took a call and said, workers need not come. Now, there were many companies who said, we are going to go on despite the fact we're going to make a loss. So they have two companies who are looking at things differently. So this is basically do a leadership. And I would say, if at all, look at the end of the day, what does a leader needs to be? One, he needs to maintain emotional equilibrium and have a composure under stress. This is the first criteria which I look for. Then, when you're upset, Don't push it down, don't agitate others, because what we have looking at an organization per se is when you are stressed, you should start pushing it down and you say my stress is transferred, let him take care of it. Try to actually pass it on. Don't do that. Leaders are basically walls, and I've seen it in my sales situations, sales team. People, the frontliners are so stressed, not because their role demands it, because the leaders pushes all this stress on them, and tolerate ambiguity and uncertainty. Like Divya was talking about rejection, and I was going to say this: rejection is not about the fact they are rejected. It's a question of looking at differently and say, are you competent? Are you skilled? Because today in our organization, this is a big challenge. I don't get in a project. I don't get selected. I'm not in the team. I'm not considered. Could be any form. End of the day, the same. Rejection is taking different forms. But I don't ask a question: am I capable? Have I got the competency? Have I got the attitude? These questions are not being asked. We don't create a culture of this sort. The moment you clear this, I think half the job is done. And handle mistakes and setbacks with a poise and grace, because leaders' reaction is noted, observed. People start reacting because of that. How you manage your emotions is very, very important. How you react is very important. Lastly, whenever you have stressful experiences, change your perspective. Look at it from a different perspective and see things change. So, if I could have a leader like this, if I could create a leader like this, trust me, no organization will go through a stress. Or there's no need of you trying to have a new session on resilience. Yes. Thank you.
Right. Yes, definitely. I think this is very, very important area that you have just brought about a thrown picture on how the leaders need to inculcate that culture within the organization of providing that empathy or even the perspectives that they need to bring it to their employees, and even how they're engaging the employees in a fruitful direction. And the point of mentally adaptive is something which is very much needed in our culture when we say a lot of these challenges do come up. Even in pandemic time, we have seen the crisis, the stress, enormous stress that we all went through. So we need to actually be open for that feedback whenever we get that feedback from any team members or within the organization. And that's how the leaders needs to create a culture, as you rightly pointed out, of the support and encouragement. That of course will go a long way to promote the resilience within an organization through the kind of leadership style that we all take up. So very rightly said. I think this all these points are really going to be helpful for the leaders who are attending the session today, and for all of us as the psychologist also, how we need to promote these concepts more and more. So thank you for enlightening us on this.
Welcome, ma'am.
Now moving on to this Divya again. Now this question that's coming to my mind, that is, how do we draw this kind of a line when we say between the resilience and the coping skills? Because sometimes people get confused with it. So is there some kind of a differentiation, some kind of a clarity that we can get between the coping skills and the resilience?
Definitely. And I think, Dr. Pooja, it's a very smart question for you to ask. So, resilience and coping skills are related concepts that often work together to help individuals navigate challenges and adversities. While they are closely while they're closely interconnected, there is definitely a distinction between these terms. First, talking about resilience. So, as we have spoken enough about resilience, resilience refers to an overall ability of an individual to bounce back, recover from their loss, and also coming out loud and say that, yes, I'm ready to face this difficulty now. It is a broader and more comprehensive trait for anyone to have, so that when once they are resilient, they're able to cope up with any life situation that comes up. Anything which that comes up in their way, they are resilient enough and they are able to handle it. Resilient individuals have capacity to maintain their well-being. They have a positive outlook towards life, and even in the midst of a challenging situation, they're able to overcome that very well. Now, when we're talking about coping mechanisms or coping skills, so coping skills are strategies and techniques which an individual adapt slowly and gradually based on a particular situation. Okay, so for example, there is some kind of pressure that is coming up from my work. I would understand how should I actually work on those pressures. So if it's a workload, if it's a if it's a problem that is coming up from my manager, I'll be speaking to the manager. I'll be working on my mindset. That would be my coping mechanism. So coping skills are essential, but they are actually managing stressors in life. And resilience is something which you bounce back, and it's an inherent trait in you. So that would be a distinction line for coping
Yes,
mechanisms
so I think
and
they both complement each other. What we see that how much that coping skills has to be
yes,
adaptive in nature, how much they have the potential to take us through that resilience journey or the path. So these are all we say the examples that you have given are more of the protective in nature that would always help us or facilitate us in journey. What we say the energy that we need to go on, and this is something also indicating some spiritual energy that we get that usually to go on or navigate with our problems very well. So this was rightly being pointed out. Thank you so much for that.
Can I add something here?
Yes, yes, please.
Now, there's one question on the panel which is being asked. It
Yes,
is also seen that there's an alarming rise of substance abuse amongst the younger generation of the country. We need an adequate number of rehabilitation center experts and civil society organization to work on this issue. How can all of these players be brought on one platform to effectively take up this challenge? This is a question that is being asked. Now, Divya ma'am just talked about resilience and coping skills. What came into my mind was this. Now, if you look at our life, it is a repetitive one. So what I'm experiencing is the same thing I'm experiencing today. Now, what I mean to say is pressure, stress is something not new to us. Starting out from the day one, the day I was born, I'm exposed to these kind of environments. Now, what is happening here is, as a environment, how is it actually building this personality to cope with it? Now, this is what I would like to explain. Now, here the question where he's saying, what is symptomatic relief I would like?
thank
So,
you.
if you look at the question is asking about symptomatic relief. So, I would strongly say that if we as parents, we as society, we as a group identify situation where stress is involved and equip the individual to cope with it, I think by the time he comes to an adult stage, he would be in a better position and actually will exhibit a good resilience. What do you think, Devi?
actually, it's a wonderful thought which you just shared. Yes, why not? Once you are into that situation, you need to equip yourself well. I was talking about it, in the previous session itself. That if I would have been, Divya would have been at that school age, I would definitely would want to equip these skills today so that whatever I am today, I would have been into a better state. So yes, equipping ourselves with these kind of skills definitely help.
Yes, I
Coming
think
to
this
your
collaborative approach is very much needed. That all these centers, the supervision, the practitioners, they all come together and provide us that right amount of knowledge. What has to be done to actually facilitate that kind of a issue and the problems that mostly the this kind of clients will face, and they will also come to know what family members also will come to know what is exactly that needs to be done from the primary level. So this kind of knowledge is being going to be really helpful. So, and this question also is very useful for the audience, and even that kind of information that panel members have provided is of course going to help that to address this kind of an issue. Now I would like to move on to Dr. Shobha. Yes, so I would like to ask you, ma'am, a very interesting question: that are people born resilient, or can they be taught to develop the resilience?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Sometimes actually, resilience is an inherited and genetic our trait, our personality trait, so that according to that we can cope up with a stressful situation. But we learn from the things for the environment also. First, everyone should accept the things. कि I have a stress, I have any mental problem. After that, we can only work on that. So for that, we always remain helpful and take care of yourself. Yourself. Nobody can take care of you. First, you accept and coping with the situation, preemptive. And we should always build the social relationship with the friends and things and positive relationship. We just understand our emotions also. If our emotions and are not in a balanced situation and we have an adjustment issue, so we just realize if we have any stressful situation, so in during that period we always utilize these things to cope up the situation. And one more things, if anyone not accepting he has a stress, then that will be a challenge to improve the things and improve the quality of life. For example, if we push the ball in the water, if we didn't accept, we just come back to our like as a bounce. So for resilience, we just challenge the situation, cope up with the situation, use the resilience. After that, we can only handle the situation.
Right. So, yeah. So coming to that, the answer that the points that ma'am actually, what I can gather is, as I have also seen many people who are not that naturally resilient. You know that they were born in these kind of families, like in addicted families, wherein this alcohol addiction or any kind of an abuse would run in that family. So they would have these genetic components that will be very much present. But what kind of skills that are usually required from the environment, what has to be absorbed in, or what has to be taken from the environment in terms of practicing those kind of skills, or also through the observation, also through number of ways, how that kind of coping skills needs to be generated, or how that right kind of skills needs to be adapted. So we say the one of the thing that usually comes along is that the highest potential of the human being has to be understood. First is the courage to take up that kind of a challenge, because most of us would take us as a crisis, that we usually see that a crisis, nothing can be done now. But as we go on with that process of taking it up as a challenge, and also helping us to prepare mentally, that how much that awareness has to be there in this direction. And most of the panel members have pointed out towards the acceptance component, how much the acceptance needs to be there, that there is a problem, of course, and we need to move on. There is no such denial that would help us. If we remain in that state, so we'll not be able to move in further in our life. So that's how we see the acceptance is the essential, the prerequisite towards moving in this direction. And how much we are accepting those things in our life, that it is no doubt whatever that happens, we will try to overcome it, we will try to work in this direction. So that's how the challenges needs to be taken as an opportunity always, so that everybody reaches to the highest potential, because most of us have the ability. So as Dr. Shobha also pointed us rightly, that this kind of skill is the self-care component, and the number of ways the environment will help us. No matter the culture in which we are, the family, the support system, all of us would be, of course, be us playing an instrumental role. Right. So again, Dr. Shobha would like to add something. Shobha, ma'am, are you there? We lost you in between. Would you like to add something? Yeah. So, yes, no issues. Anyone else would like to add before we wrap up?
Yes, yes, ma'am. First, we understand on self and respect your feeling. That is, and be positive attitude. If we accept the things, then we just accept the challenges in the life, and we can overcome the situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we were also
Stay
talking about
healthy,
the same
be
thing.
healthy.
Yes. Yes. So all these points, I think, are being summarized really well. That in this session, mostly the points that we have collected is that how can we develop the resilience. So instead of falling into despair, that's a message, takeaway message, that instead of falling into the despair or hiding from the issues by using these unhealthy coping strategies, or number of the denying the issues, or reaching out to the the friends which may not have that knowledge, or taking the advices from the other people, or not sharing with your close people around, the significant people, be it your family or your parents. So how this problem becomes much more, doubles up actually. So rather than taking up this kind of the accepting the things and moving on, so resilient people, what is being usually seen is that they face the life difficulties head on. So they will be mostly, they do not experience any kind of distress. They would be less distressed than the people who would have less resilience. And this, all the other kind of issues like grief, anxiety, then what the other people do. So they would be always be very much clear in their ideologies or their predisposition. What is the healthy ways to deal with the problem? Like one of you have pointed out on the positive coping, that is of like reframing or positively trying to look up that situation, or the carrying that outlook in your life, positive outlook, the optimistic way of looking up the things or handle the difficulties in your life. So in order to foster the strength which is required, even the growth, and which will help you to emerge more stronger, than they were before. So those kind of things, we say we will these are the steps, as most of us would have pointed out, the experts, they have pointed out the steps which can mostly anybody can take to reduce the stress and anxiety. And it also, like Dr. Shobha pointed out, on setting that the kind of diets or even the complementary therapies, which we say, which is already present in our culture, how much we are utilizing it, and getting more sleep. Sleep is another essential component. We say eating healthy, sleeping, yeah, completely taking up that good sleep of 8 hours, and even exercising, physical activity, socializing, keeping a journal, that means a daily record or a logbook that we can keep, and even doing the positive affirmations, like I can do it, no matter what happens, I can move on, I can always be ready for all those challenges that will be coming up in my life. So these are some of the ways. I think I would just try to sum up with that, and also would like to extend this warm gratitude to all the panel members which are present today, who have enlightened us and given us a new insight about these ways to challenge ourselves each and every day. Because mostly we say the opportunities don't happen, we need to create them. And even the life events, how we perceive them, how we keep them on those as something which give us more energy to move on, rather than looking at us as a suffering or as a kind of stress which will of course pull us down. So these are the a number of ways, the strategies. I'm sure that many of our audience have taken the points, and also would like to be if they any questions if they have for the panel, so we would most likely to answer it as well. So this is something that is going to help us, because they are all in their experts, they have taken a lot of training sessions, number of programs for the not only for the youths, but also for the leaders in the organization, even for the mental health professionals. So I think this would go a long way in promoting the mental health, even the resilience component, which is very much instrumental in changing, bringing us a change in our life. So anyone who would like to just add in something to any of your life experience, anything that really helpful for the audience here to to just to absorb in those ideas, and also to learn from the real life experience. Anything that you would like to share, any of the panel member? We'll just keep it open.
I think let me have the simple message: make life simple. That's a message I would like to give, and that will actually bring about a lot of changes. And for you to take this roller coaster ride would be easy. So I would like to put it as simple, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, the panel, and of course Dr. Pooja ma'am, and for giving us an opportunity to be here and share our thoughts, share our expertise. Thank you once again.
I'll also put up a quote which is coming up in my mind all of a sudden. I would say, you are at your brilliance if you are equipped with resilience. So,
Wonderful.
so you can go ahead, you can go far with resilience as your equipment in your life. So I think it was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Dr. Shobha. Thank you so much, Badrinath sir. Thank you so much, Shobha ma'am. It was a wonderful session hearing all of your thoughts.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, all of you, all participant. All are a very, very wonderful person and great personality. And special thanks to Pooja Varma, ma'am, and to Jain sir. Stay healthy, and mind be healthy. Be calm, take proper sleep, and all these things.